Hey, this is Fina. Hope you enjoyed episode 1. If you haven't listened to it, you should go check it out. We got to talk to someone who made a lot of money in Final Fantasy XIV with botting. Real life money. This is also your episodic reminder that botting is illegal. Do not bot in Final Fantasy XIV. You can get banned. Before we start the show, I should disclose about a conflict of interest in this episode. I've known about the person I'm interviewing in this episode for a while, and I have some friends in their free company. I did not know about the botting activities they are involved in before I start researching for the story. I'm not sure how important this is when I'm just a girl talking about video games online, but I figured people should know, and I try to present the facts as impartial as I can. Now then, please enjoy the show. Being a free company leader comes with many responsibility. Some of them want to keep the FC chest stocked with goodies that the free company members can use, like free minions, and food, and pods. Food and pods buff your stats in battle, makes you sturdier, and lets you do more damage. This is something a lot of raiders use, and you should use it too. It's cheap to get, and you can even make it yourself if you want to do that. But back to my example. So you're a free company leader, and you want to keep your free company chest stocked up with foods and pots that your friends can use. But you're only one person, and there's a lot of people who needs foods and pots, and you can't possibly make all of them in the time you have to play the game. You can buy it with Gil, but buying for a whole group of people gets expensive really fast. But what if there's a way to keep farming the materials and crafting them, even when you're at work, or asleep, or doing something else? One free company leader finds out what that's like. These are the different communities of Final Fantasy XIV. My name is Fina Braveheart. This is Tales from PF. I started Final Fantasy XIV with a friend. Cynthia is bright, curious, and really good at the game. At the time, I was busy with work and ended up taking a break from the game. So Cynthia decided to join a different free company from the one I was in, and we still remain friends to this day. The free company she ended up in? House of Memes. They are a rowdy bunch. The voice chat channel in the Discord is always filled with people every night, whether they are playing games together, or watching movies, or just hanging out. House of Memes took Primal's first E8S clear, Refulsion's Savage, or Shiva Savage as some of you might know it. They're good at the game, and they know it too. And sometimes things can get a little out of hand. And the person standing at the top of it all, the one leading this ragtag group of rowdy players, making sure things don't grow out of hand and hustling the group together, we're going to talk to him today.
My name in-game is Caro Kann. I'm an Exodus. I'm the leader of the House of Memes FC. I consider myself, I suppose, a hardcore raider. We world progged. Well, I suppose my raid team world progged and did a lot of stuff. And that's generally the sphere of influence that I'm a part of. I'm not too much into crafting nowadays, I suppose. And I'm not really in like the botting scene as much. I mean, I have before. I haven't really done it in recent history. I would say for at least a year now.
So, can you tell us how and why you started botting?
Originally, this was, I want to say, in Stormblood. And I think they released new submarine stuff. And as I mentioned before, like I'm the leader of my FC, right? So I wanted to get the mats to build the subs such that we could get like, new minions or whatever, right? And not a whole lot of my FC gathers because, we're a bunch of raiders for the most part. So it was really a way for me to gather a bunch of stuff to get like FC's like projects on the way. Because gather 5,000 cobalt, right? Sure, one person can do that, but it takes forever. On top of that, that's not the only mat you need to gather. So, you would spend excess of hours and hours and hours just getting these mats for like one step. And so it came at a point where I looked at the sort of time I was investing into like getting these resources, and I decided it really wasn't worth it. So that's really my main motivation for botting, was getting FC stuff. Among that as well, as I mentioned before, my FC is a bunch of raiders, right? So the raid food and raid pots were something that I gathered. I suppose I should say, to be more specific, the materials for those things. And I didn't craft them myself, but I kept a stockpile of them in the FC chest, because I do like to provide materia and food and potions for the raiders in my free company.
And did you use like a free bot, or did you use like a paid bot services?
So I don't even know if free bots even work. I've never tried one. I used a paid service. There were two separate programs. One of them basically allowed you to interface with actual FFXIV. So if you try to use, like, for example, like macros, generally they don't work. Even if you have the keystrokes being sent to Final Fantasy, it won't interpret them properly, or at least maybe it's like an anti-cheat for them, but it wouldn't work, because I've tried using auto hotkey as an example to set up a macro and didn't work. However, you need a program to even interface with Final Fantasy, and that costs some amount of money. It's not too much. And then once you have the interfacing program, then you have the actual bot itself. There is a particular bot, and that was the actual botting program that did all the gathering and crafting. So as far as I know, there's 2 or 3 main programs. One of them does have a lot of add-ons. The one I used didn't really have a bunch of add-ons, or at least it wasn't as accessible to me, nor did I use them. So I know, for example, one of them, you can get even like a gold saucer farmer. Someone writes a program for it and does it. But the one I used, they didn't have that, as far as I understood. But I know there are programs that exist like that. So that other program I mentioned is actually, I don't think you need the first interfacing program. I think the program itself actually attaches itself to the game and then can send keystrokes and do all the extra bots and whatnot. And those programs do cost a little extra, I understand. Like, you have to buy the program itself.
What is the session? Is that like when you start botting and until you stop botting, or?
So a session is essentially, you can actually have one person paying for multiple people with a bot. And that's basically what a session is. So I believe in the sort of secondary program that I personally used, it would link it to your account, and they would do some mumbo jumbo and link like a key. And I believe it would link to your actual computer itself. And so that was considered a session. So basically a session is a given computer or account that can use it. You can give, if you have, let's say, 3 sessions, myself and 2 other friends can all use the same program and bot at the same time.
And so you tried auto hotkeys before, and it just plain out didn't work, or did it just like boot you from the game, or like what happened when you tried to use auto hotkeys?
No, it didn't work. So, the keystrokes were being sent, but the way I deduced it was I saw that the inputs were being registered, right, in my computer, but Final Fantasy wasn't doing anything. So my working theory is that Final Fantasy only reads a certain type of keystroke, or it can somehow detect that the keystroke is being sent artificially or something to that effect. So it doesn't work. It wouldn't like boot me out of the game or whatever. I traded a session. So, well, okay, I have my world prog group, right? And we need gear. So I said, hey, listen, if you agree to craft me this gear week 1 or whatever, or day 1, I will give you a session of this bot, right? And then you can do whatever the fuck you want for 6 months or however long the bot was running for. I mean, it's sort of like paying real money for a service.
So is that how you get people to do alarm clock crafting for you? For people who don't know, alarm clock crafting is when you try to make a new piece of gear as soon as the patch goes up and you can play. This is usually done for teams who are trying to race forward first or server first.
Well, sometimes, yeah. I mean, other times they just do it for free because, I don't know, some idiots are loyal to me, I guess. The community itself is fairly strong, so people would do it, right? But like, I don't like to rely on like people's generosity like that. It makes me feel really bad. So I'd rather like at least have some sort of transactional nature to it, so like it doesn't feel like I'm taking advantage, Because I know there's a lot of people that in my free company would just do it for free, right?
And is this something that you hide from other people, or is it something that you openly tell people?
I mean, I don't care. I mean, listen, I don't give a fuck. It's a video game. I have bigger things on my plate, right? And I openly, I tell people, yeah. Like, I mean, I would never say it in game, because that's bannable, right? But if you ask me on Discord or whatever, yeah, I bought. I don't give a fuck, and nobody cares. Like anybody who I ever talked to has never like given me like attitude for it because nobody gives a shit. It's a video game.
The bot you were running, was this something that you can have going on in the background and then just do something else?
I believe you can leave it running. It's been a while for me because usually I would run it overnight. Like I wouldn't like do it when I'm like actively playing. So I would only ever do it on off hours and I would just like go to sleep, right? But I believe you can just leave it running and like, watch YouTube or something or do something else.
Have you ever got banned for botting?
I've never been banned for botting. My friend got banned for botting, but that's his own fault. That's because he ran it like 24/7 and he never stopped botting. So like I was like, you're gonna get banned, and he got banned. But I don't know anybody who's gotten banned for botting actually, aside from him. But that's again his own fault because he banned 24/7, or he bought it 24/7. So I mean, if you're gonna do that, just be smart about it, right? Like just do it overnight.
Did you sell the stuffs you got on the market board, or did you just let it pile up in the FC?
Nah, I never sell it. What's the point? Like, who cares? I could just buy Gil if I want Gil, right? Like, listen, if I'm willing to bot, I'm willing to buy Gil, right? It's not like out of the ordinary, and it's way more efficient to like work like say an hour of a job than to like actually try making that Gil in the game, right? It's not worth it. Gil is just so cheap relative to actual money. So I would never ever like sell stuff I got from botting because it's not. There's no point. I don't care. I would just buy if it's a waste of my time. I'd rather just buy the Gil. So the value for me is not in the Gil that I would potentially obtain, but it's in the time I save helping out my community, providing great food and pots and that sort of stuff.
So you've never tried to make in-game or in real life money from botting?
I would never dream of trying that. It's just not lucrative enough. The time investment you would have to make like all the Gil and convert it to real money, it's not really worth the hassle. It's a lot of work, like sure, it's like passive income, but you can't sustain yourself off that. You get a real job. That's way easier to like sustain yourself. You could do a lot more with that. People have to make these bots, right? So if you could make the bot, I mean, that's a whole different story. So if you could make a bot that works day one of a new patch, you would actually make a shitload of money because everything's expensive as fuck at the beginning of an expansion drop. So that's the only possible way I would consider making money off of botting is if I could guarantee myself a working bot, within the first few days of an expansion drop.
Do you feel like now that you've bought it, do you have an easier time noticing bots in-game?
The biggest tell I would say is if you email that at them or something and they don't respond, that's generally a bot.
And is it true that trading a bot will break its script and it will start to break the bot down?
Oh no, it doesn't break the sequence. Bots are way more sophisticated than that. They can detect that sort of stuff, and also you can set yourself to busy, right? So it doesn't really matter.
Well, I guess there goes that plan of busting bots by trading with them to break the script. Plus, like I said in the last episode, you might get reported for disrupting someone else's gameplay. Damn it, Caro, we're going through this question list way too fast.
Yeah, I tried. Well, I mean, there were a few more things that I saw on the list. I mean, I obviously looked through it, so I had ample knowledge. But I mean, in terms of like the last few questions, I guess getting to them, one of them is, have I been found out? Like, yeah, I tell people I don't give a fuck. Nobody cares. Anybody who has a real fucking job in a real life literally doesn't care because it's a bot, right? Like, this isn't like real life. It's not like life or death. Nobody cares about botting. Anybody who cares about botting is probably like 12 or has some weird moralist dilemma. And speaking of moralism, right? The last question that I see, you ask about morality and ethics and doing it in a MMO. And I would say this. I mean, people already break the rules of terms of service, right? For example, like GPOs. Like I know there are a lot of like shaders and stuff that are technically against terms of service, right? Same thing with ACT, right? Technically, that's against terms of service because you're using an external program. And I would say this: like, who gives a fuck? Like, if you want to like fucking put lewd mods on your character, like more power to you, right? Like I don't give a fuck, because in this game there's very little in the ways of directly affecting another person's experience, right? You can argue that the people that are affected by a bot are an extremely small subset of population, which are the hardcore crafters, right? And like those guys, like who run the marketplaces, those guys are affected, sure, if people are like selling their goods like heavily undercutting. But for the vast majority of players, nobody cares if there's a bot. If anything, it makes it better because it makes guild prices cheaper for a lot of people, right? So in that sense, right, it might be beneficial for most players because everything's cheaper if there's a shitload of if there's a surplus of labor, right? It's just basic economics, right? There's just going to be everything's going to be cheaper if you have 10,000 people doing things, right? It's why like China has really cheap food prices and labor because there's a billion people. So there's a very small subset of people that are affected, and you could argue, and so there could be the argument made that they're negatively affecting their experience, and in that vein, it's like, listen, like people are going to do it, right? Like this is going to happen, much like automation in the real world is going to happen. People are going to bot, like you just have to deal with it, right? So does it make it moral? Maybe, probably not, right? If you're really going off it just based on that argument, but at the grand scheme of things, it's like such a minor thing to worry about that I don't think, like, I don't really give a shit. And like for me personally, like I've always justified it as that I've never like played with the market. I don't care. I'm doing it for my boys, like I'm doing it to make sure like they have raid foods and pots and like that kind of stuff. So, my that value to me is far greater than the minor potential inconvenience I might do to some giga rich crafter who already has like guild cap on like 10 characters and like, those are the guys that are affected, right? Like it's just like it's so minor. So honestly, I don't really give a shit. And whether it's moral, like at the end of the day, yeah, maybe it's not the most moral thing, but it's like such a minor inconvenience that like I don't think it matters.
For raiders like you, especially for word proc people, you guys burn through food and pots at a very fast pace.
The consumption rate of like food and pots is very, very high. Especially because you sit there for a minute with a fucking macro and you get like 3 pots. Like, holy shit, dude. And like that's gone in one pull. It's like, oh my god. Like I sat there like doing nothing for a minute in game to be gone in like one raid pull. And like, especially in like world prog, you're pulling hundreds of times, Like so it adds up really fast. So yeah, we don't fucking craft. We're not sitting around like gathering. We're fucking raid logging. We log on, raid, use our pots, and then go off and play a League of Legends or something else, right? Like we don't have time to fucking make a shitload of money to like to buy all this stuff. So if it's cheaper, it's better for us. Like botting's the way to go.
Special thanks to Caro Kann for appearing on this episode. This show is made by me, your crafter who keeps handing you the same ugly minion you've received from them before, Fina Braveheart. Music is provided by Eric Matthias at soundimage.org. Glass-breaking sound effects are provided by TRTV Audio, Crowded Bar Ambience by Crisp Sounds, and Fighting Bar Ambience provided by Patrick Rabbit. Sound mastering is done by Liam. Wine Up Malin is the cat you meet on a sunny Saturday. Please give me your thoughts and comments on the show. I'd love to hear from you guys. You can find me on Twitter and Twitch at FinaBrave. And even if you give all your friends the HQ food and pots, and then secretly eat the normal quality chicken, this is Tales from PF.